Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to give your Python code a brain. Seriously, we're going to teach it how to make decisions, look at different options, and pick the best path forward, all with some of the most essential tools in any programmer's toolkit.
So let's just jump right in with a big question. How do you take a program that just blindly follows a list of instructions and turn it into something, well, smarter, something that can actually react to what's happening? How do we teach it to make a choice?
You know, it's actually something you do all the time without even thinking about it. You look outside. If it's snowing, you grab a jacket. Else if it's just raining, you grab an umbrella. Otherwise, well, if it's sunny, you're going to wear sunglasses. That exact logic, if, else if, otherwise, is precisely how Python learns to think.
All right, so let's start with the absolute basics. The simplest choice your code can make is between just two options. This is the world of the classic if and else statements.
Think of if-else like a fork in the road. Your code gets to the if and has to answer a yes or no question. If the answer is true, it goes down one path, but if the answer is false, it automatically goes down the other path, the else path. It's one or the other. No other options here. Okay, let's see this in some actual code. This function here is designed to react whenever we click the mouse. The dest, our fork in the road, is right here. If x is less than 200. It's just asking, hey, was this click on the left side of the canvas? If the answer is true, boom, we get a cyan circle. If it's false, the else block takes over and we get a gold circle instead. Simple as that, left side or right side. But let's be real, life isn't always a simple two-way choice. What happens when you need more than just two paths, when you need more options? Well, our simple if-else setup is going to need a bit of an upgrade. Right? What if you don't just want a left and a right, but you also want a middle section? Or maybe you need to handle 4 or 5 totally different scenarios. A simple if-else just can't do that on its own. We need a new tool in our toolkit.
And that tool is called elif. It's literally just a squished together version of the words else and if, and that's exactly what it does. It basically says, okay, that first if test was false, so else, let's try this if test instead. It's the key to making longer and more interesting decision chains.
So here's the flow step by step. Python always starts at the top with the first if. If that condition is true, it runs that code and then it's done. It completely skips the rest of the chain. But if it's false, it just goes down to the next level, the elif, and tries that test. It'll keep going down the line, checking each elif. If it gets to the very end and nothing was true, it'll run the else code as a last resort.
Now, putting it all together, we've created 3 separate zones. First, Python asks, is x less than 100? If yes, we get a cyan circle and we're done. If no, it moves on and asks the next question, elif x less than 300. This creates our new middle zone for a black bordered circle, and if that's also false, our else statement is there to catch everything else, giving us a gold circle on the far right. And just like that, we've turned a two-way choice into a three-way choice.
And here's the really cool part. You're not limited to just one elif. You can have an if, then an elif, then another elif, and another, as many as you need to handle all the different situations you can think of. It's super flexible.
Okay, this next bit is maybe the single most important idea to really get about how these chains work. It can feel a little weird at first, but once it clicks, you've totally got this. I like to call it the one answer rule.
So have a look at this code here. It's a little different. The first test checks if our click is on the left side of the screen. The second test, the elif, checks if our click is on the top half. Seems straightforward enough, but this actually creates a really interesting little puzzle.
So when you run this code, you see cyan circles on the left and black bordered circles only in the top right corner. But wait a second. The top left corner is also in the top half of the screen, right? So the y less than 200 condition should be true there. Why aren't we getting black rings there too? What's going on?
And here is the secret. This is the one answer rule. The whole if-else-else chain is basically a hunt for the very first yes. The instant Python finds a condition that is true, it executes that block of code and then immediately bails on the entire rest of the chain. It's done. It doesn't care what comes after.
And that solves our puzzle. When you click in that top left corner, the very first test, if x is less than 200, is true. Python goes, aha, I found an answer, draws that cyan circle, and completely ignores everything that comes after. It never ever even gets to the if-else y is less than 200 part to check it. That's why you only see those black rings on the right side where that first if test fails.
Honestly, once you really get that one answer and done rule, It's like unlocking a coding superpower. It gives you such precise control over how your program actually thinks.
So, let's do a quick recap of your new decision-making toolkit. You always kick things off with an if. You can add as many extra options as you want with elif. You can have a final safety net, a catch-all, with else. And the golden rule, the one-answer rule. The whole thing stops as soon as it finds the very first true condition.
And that's really the heart of making decisions in Python. It's a pretty simple set of tools, but with them, you can build some amazingly complex and smart programs. So now that you have this toolkit, the only question left is, what choices are you going to teach your programs to make?